I never imagined that a single sentence spoken in anger could erase a lifetime of love. But it did. I was standing in the middle of a wedding hall filled with laughter, music, and strangers when my own son looked at me and said words I will carry to my grave. "Leave. She doesn't want you here." The room was packed, hundreds of eyes, white lights, perfect decorations. And in that moment, I became invisible. Before I begin telling you my story, let me know in the comments where you're listening from, and if you'd like to share your own story, feel free to write to us. My name is Elena Morales. I was 58 years old when my only child publicly erased me from his life. And this is the story of how betrayal broke me and how silence became my revenge. I raised my son alone. His father died when Mateo was barely 11. One day I was a wife planning dinner, and the next I was a widow learning how to fix fences, balance accounts, and hide my tears so my child wouldn't feel afraid. We lived on a small inherited property outside San Alvaro, land that had been in my family for generations. It wasn't rich land, it wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. When Mateo was a boy, he used to follow me everywhere. "Mom, I'll help," he'd say, dragging tools twice his size. I told him he didn't have to be strong for me. He insisted anyway. That land raised him, the soil, the animals, the quiet nights. When he left for college, I feared he would never come back. But he did. He promised me his future was there, his children would grow up there, his life would stay rooted. That promise lasted until Isabella walked into his life. She arrived like a storm, dressed in perfume and confidence. She didn't like dirt, she didn't like quiet, she didn't like history. The first time she stepped onto the property, she looked around like someone inspecting a mistake. "Is this it?" she asked. Mateo smiled. I saw pride in his eyes. She smiled too, but hers was sharp, measuring. From that moment on, my son slowly disappeared. He stopped having coffee with me at sunrise. He stopped fixing fences. He started talking about value, potential, and modernizing. I felt it before I understood it. She wasn't marrying my son. She was evaluating his inheritance. The wedding was supposed to be a celebration. I wore a deep green dress that belonged to my mother. Simple, elegant, respectful. I helped pay for the venue. I arranged the flowers. I stayed awake nights stitching tablecloths. And yet, minutes after arriving, my son approached me with clenched teeth. "She says your dress draws attention." I offered to change. I even had another dress in my car. But he shook his head. "No, you should go." The music was still playing when he raised his voice. "Get out." That's how quickly a mother becomes a problem. I left without crying. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I drove home alone. And that's when I touched the keys hanging from my neck, keys my father gave me with his last breath. That night, something inside me changed forever. The next morning, my phone rang. Mateo wanted the keys. He said they wanted to make improvements, renovations, events, profit. He didn't say the words, "give them to Isabella," but I heard them anyway. I said no. And that was the moment the war began. Over the following weeks, my son became a stranger. He accused me of being selfish, stuck in the past, unwell. That's when I realized the plan wasn't persuasion anymore. It was removal. A lawyer visited me quietly one afternoon. He warned me gently. When property is involved, love disappears. I started protecting myself. Medical exams, legal documents, silence. Isabella began circling openly. She photographed my house. She contacted my attorney behind my back. She suggested I move somewhere safer. She called it concern. I called it strategy. The final confrontation came on a quiet afternoon. They arrived together, my son, his wife, and 2 lawyers. They spoke about money, about grandchildren, about my age. They told me I was standing in the way of my own family's future. And then my son screamed, "Give me the keys!" I held them against my chest. "These keys are not your future," I said calmly. "They are your past." That's when he said it. "I don't have a mother anymore." They sued me. I didn't fight with noise. I fought with patience. I rewrote my will. No sale, no division, no exploitation. The land would outlive greed. That decision cost me my son, but it saved my soul. 2 years passed, the lawsuits stalled, and then karma arrived quietly. Isabella left him. She found someone richer, more useful. Matteo lost everything: his marriage, his job, his pride. One winter morning, he stood at my door, shaking. "I'm sorry." I hugged him, because revenge is not destruction, it is survival. Today, my grandson runs through the same fields. The land remains. The keys still hang on my neck, lighter now. And I finally understand the truth. Sometimes justice doesn't scream, it waits.